Hey everyone, it's Jack, and today I'm going to take a look at Plasma 5.24, which is now out on Arch. So it's been out for a few weeks. I don't know if it was beta or what. In the KDE Neon distro, I've been kind of eagerly awaiting it for it to show up in Arch, and just last night I noticed it in the repos. So I can't wait to try it out. I'm going to be using Arco Linux Plasma to demo this, but of course it doesn't matter what Arch you're on, except maybe for Manjaro, because they're a little bit held back on their updates, so you may not see it there. And in case you want to go with Arco Linux and just kind of follow along, I left a link in the description below. A lot of new things in 5.24. But first, I got a question from Brandon Davis, which I thought was a pretty good one, and I thought I'd maybe try to address it really quick. Brandon says, "Hey Jack, you have inspired me to ask a question. Can you provide me some advice for someone new to Linux, like myself, looking to get started, and maybe some distro recommendations? Right now, I have an old Lenovo ThinkPad X230 ready for a fresh install of Linux. Woohoo!" Well, yeah, Brendan, kind of a tough question to answer, really, because there's a lot of factors that kind of depend on recommending a distro. Like if you're somebody that's a Windows user, for example, which I'm assuming you're probably coming from Windows. If you don't consider yourself a power user would be somebody like, for example, a Windows user. If you were comfortable getting in the registry and making modifications to tweak something or to fix something, using the console and things like that. So if you're kind of on that level of a user, then if it were me, I'd probably go with something like maybe Manjaro Linux for starters. That's an Arch-based distro, and it is a rolling release, just like really any Arch distro. A rolling release means that it upgrades automatically by itself, and so you don't have to worry about upgrades because they stay up to date all the time. So that's kind of where I would go from the perspective of somebody that's not afraid to get in there and maybe do a few things. Now, if this was set up by somebody else as a system for a beginner type person that wasn't savvy, this would still work great for them, because that's a nice mid-ground for everybody, in my opinion. If you're not a computer person, so to speak, but maybe you do specific things every day in Windows that you can do in Linux, but you don't really mess with configurations and tinker with all that stuff, in that case, you might be more interested in something like Linux Mint. Mint is very Windows-like in its environment. It kind of resembles 7, I suppose. Linux Mint is something that you can install. It just works, and everything's there that you would probably need right off the bat in the get-go. So that would also be a great entry-level place to go. If you're coming over from Mac, maybe Elementary OS, which isn't entirely free, I don't believe, but that's a very Mac-like, or Budgie, Ubuntu Budgie, could be a nice choice there as well. Anyways, it's a pretty complicated subject, and I might even do a whole video on it here in the future. So thanks, Brandon. I hope that helped a little anyway. And speaking of newbies, I just have to address this real quick, because Rocky Rob had chimed in regarding my review on Peppermint Linux when I was saying how great it is for beginners. And so what Rocky had to say was, "Ugh, those letters are so tiny." It looks to be useful for an existing Linux user, but not for a brand newbie. A new convert wants to see installed software it can use right away, not just packages he's never heard of. You never covered Office apps, for example. So I don't know if any come with Peppermint, but I doubt it. Man, Rocky, yeah, you know, you nailed it. When I was saying how good it is for brand new users, I was actually going right from the perspective of somebody like me installing it for somebody, setting it all up, and then using it after the fact. I totally overlooked the perspective of a Windows user stumbling around on the internet and just coming across Peppermint Linux and never heard of Linux before and saying, "Wow, this looks cool. I think I'll install it." You're right. I mean, they would get on there and say, "Geez, it doesn't have anything on it. Where's my Office program? Where's this and that?" What? Linux sucks, and they'd probably uninstall it and move on. So yeah, really good point. If you're a brand new Linux user coming from Windows, never used the Linux before, and you're gonna install this yourself, yeah, probably not the best choice. You'd be better off kind of going with something like MX Linux, which is already kind of done for you, or Linux Mint if you're really new and you're really kind of skittish about having to make any adjustments or learning how to fix something if you got a minor bug somewhere. So Linux Mint really is a all-around #1 choice, probably for somebody new getting an intro to Linux, but even power users love Linux Mint. I can't just say that it's only for beginners because a lot of power users use Linux Mint. You can even mess with the repositories if you're brave enough. So yes, thank you, Rocky. I really appreciate you bringing that up because that really is something I should have clarified. Onward and upward. Okay, here I am in the Linux desktop, Arco Linux desktop. I'm going to close this, and this is a new Plasma already updated during the install. I got to tell you, this is I'm kind of excited about seeing this. And so if I bring up the console here, we can see in NeoFetch that we are indeed updated to the Plasma 5.24.0. So if you're using Arch right now and you're not updated, if you're on Plasma, then you can simply just run your update and it should show up in your update. And then you'll see yourself at Plasma 5.24. So let's see what's new. So firstly, let's see what I can think of off the bat is like KRunner. If I hit Alt space and bring up KRunner, then we got a little question mark here, so it gives you some usage help. So when you click on that, it kind of gives you things that you can get to for help. So a nice little thing to just be able to refer to and just get there. So here we can find things related to Plasma Desktop or the kill search term. I hit that and it'll let me know, oh, terminate applications and so forth. Yes, or get Mate terminal. What are they talking about? Hit that and it'll load it right in for you, and then you can look at the description and say, oh, that's what Mate terminal is. Cool. Well, I already got console, so I'm good, but hey, thanks for letting me know. So that's kind of a cool little feature. Also, let's look at this. When we go to our menu here, I notice it's smooth. If I remember right, you used to have to click on each one of these categories, and then it would like slide over on the right side and take you inside that category. And then if you wanted to get out of it, you had to click back out of it. I think you had to hit back or something. Can't remember because I don't use that menu even in Plasma. I typically go to the other ones. But now you can just smoothly do this and it's kind of switching over. So that's cool. I think that's something new. To me, that looks new anyway. Could be wrong. And also down here in our taskbar, we got some changes here. So for example, if we go to our clock, we can open up we can actually right click on our clock settings. One of the choices here under show date, they added something new, something called always below time. So you can show your date below the time rather than beside it. So if we hit that and hit apply, then it shows up underneath. So now you got 1:08 p.m. and then the date right underneath it. So that's a new option that didn't exist before. That's kind of cool. Another thing I like is if you open up an app that's playing multimedia like a video or a sound file, and I don't have any media on this right now, so I'm just going to open up Hypnotics here and just pick a TV channel that I know works and hit that.
But what do you think?
And when it starts playing here, when you go down here and you look at your preview in the taskbar, it now has an audio slider here so you can adjust your volume right from the taskbar. So that is cool. I like that too. That's a nice little feature.
And if you look
Very
at
cool
how we prioritize
indeed.
other expenses, where we never question.
And then if we right click on our desktop here and we have configured display settings right here from our right click menu, So an easy shortcut to get right to your display settings if you need to go and change something in there, tweak a monitor or whatever, change your resolution, it's right here. Another nice feature, I think that's really cool. Also, since we're here in the settings, if I just kind of back up a little bit, this is another thing that's kind of added. I believe this burger menu wasn't there before. So when you hit this menu, it kind of gives you some nice quick shortcuts to get to. And I think that's something new too. And when you go into appearance, Breeze has been kind of modified here. So like if you change it to dark mode or light mode or anything like that, it's supposed to be more universally configurable, more friendly with global menus and also with other apps that maybe aren't KDE based. I guess they will adapt the themes. Whereas before you might have noticed that some apps would keep their light theme if you were in a dark theme. Some things that didn't really kind of conform to Breeze would just kind of stay in their own theme. And so now it seems that they're more universally adaptive. So that's kind of cool. I like that idea. And another thing that's cool is the colors. If we go down here to colors, and then I'm just going to open up Dolphin real quick. And we can go over here and select a custom color. And if I were to change this like to green, then over here in Dolphin, once I apply it, even your icons will change to match the accent colors. And so I'm liking that too. I think that's cool that you get the color changes. And so again, if I wanted to make that purple, then again, they change everything over. So I think that's nice too. That's something I didn't notice before in the old one. However, if you wanted a purple accent and like green icons, I don't know how you do that. I don't know if that's something I'm missing or if that's just going to be in a new update. I'm not sure, but I'm pretty sure you could have the icons colored separately from your accents. Could be wrong, but I seem to recall that you could have them separate. Not sure. However, personally, I like everything matching, so it doesn't bother me at all. But you can also do custom, so you can come in here to custom colors, and you can tweak these colors exactly the way you want. So maybe this violet shade here isn't quite what you want. Maybe you want it a little bit different. So you can actually come in here and tweak it and just kind of find the color that you really like. And when you see down in this area, the color that really appeals to you the most, maybe like a certain shade of green. Maybe you like a dark green for whatever reason. So you can do that and just hit OK, hit apply, and now you got dark green folders. So you can really just kind of tweak your colors exactly the way you want. And actually, I think that update will, that highlight will update too. I just had to kind of refresh it there. So I like that too. I mean, you can make your colors exactly the way you want now rather than just having a limited palette to choose from. Very cool. Also in your notifications, if you go into notifications and if you have anything important down here, which I don't really, but important notifications now will pop up, and there'll be a little red strip right over here in it's kind of a reddish orange color strip right here in the left hand side. And so that'll let you know that it's an important notification, maybe related to a security update or what have you. But if you ever see that little red strip in the side of your notification, that's what that is, and that'll just kind of pop up on your desktop. And so that's another new feature. And it looks like there's updates available, so I'm just going to run that update too, because we always should be up to date. And besides that, it's going to open up Discover. And Discover has also been improved as well. For example, here in the updates, update checking is a lot faster now. So I'm going to hit Update All here and let it do its update. And I think when the update is finished, if I recall correctly, it will also give you an option whether you want it to restart or not. So that's something also new here in Discover. And also, Flatpak support is better in Discover. In fact, now if you have any local Flatpaks that you've downloaded on your local file system, you can install those through Discover as well. So that's another new feature. Discover is really kind of coming of age in this version of 5.24. So I'm liking that. I remember back when Discover was fairly new to Plasma, I never really used it because in some cases it was almost unusable and I never really bothered with it. But in the past year or so, I've really gotten to like Discover a lot. It's really kind of come of age and great package manager. So real happy about that. And like I said before, a checkbox will appear down here giving you the option at the bottom to restart or not restart. So you can just check the box if you want to restart. This particular update didn't need a restart, so we're good there. Yes, so all up to date, looking good. Discover. And that's our home page feature, our featured items. Another cool new feature is 5.24 now supports fingerprints. So if your laptop or device has a fingerprint sensor on there, it can now use fingerprints to log in. That's really cool. Also, if you go into the lock screen and then you decide you want to hibernate or suspend your machine from inside the lock screen, you don't have to log back in to do that. There's now a feature where you can go right into suspend or hibernate right from your lock screen without having to log in. Another cool feature. And also Wayland is getting improved support as well. So now apparently the show desktop works properly and there's more keyboard shortcuts that are kind of coming over and working in Wayland where a lot of them didn't, as opposed to X11. And that's really nice. Also, I think there's a screen grabber app that compatibility hasn't been improved for as well. So Wayland is kind of getting there. So I'm glad to hear that. Also in the system settings, let's go in here real quick. I was already here. Anyways, if we go into our window management and our task switcher, we got some great options in here. And then you can go down here and you got like cover switch, flip switch, very nice new things here. Hit this and then you can flip through there just by hitting your arrow keys and flip through your different windows and select something like this guy. Another one is the cover switch. And then you can kind of go in this way direction. So nice new features, and it's also supposed to be more responsive and faster. Oh, and I forgot to mention when I was in Discover, Discover also has a protection feature now, so you can't uninstall Plasma by mistake and then end up with a surprise, no desktop. So that's kind of been fixed. When it comes to displays, now I don't have multiple monitors. Now it will display fractional scaling for each monitor that you have up there. And so that's a new thing. And like I said, I only have the single monitor here. And also another thing that they still have, if we go here on the intro page, they still have the Homer Simpson IQ test. And that is right here. So when you hover over these, if you're a Homer Simpson, you'll do something like this. No. 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 Yes. They are previews, not submenus. So yeah, that's still there. I couldn't resist. And there's some notifications coming up there. And there would be an orange strip here on the side if that was like some kind of really important one. Just as a reminder. So if I right click here on the desktop and I go and add a widget, another improvement that was made is if you drag a widget out onto your desktop, now the animation for dragging this out is smooth instead of just popping into wherever it is that you let up on. So now that's a little bit smoother too. Nice. And when you're in edit mode, again, if you're moving it around, Much smoother process there. Oh yeah, and another cool thing is wallpaper. So one thing you can do now is right from Dolphin, like if you have a particular picture you want to make as wallpaper, now you can go right into your file manager here and then select an item, right click, and then you can either set as desktop background or set as wallpaper. Either one will work, and so when you hit that, it'll instantly go right to wallpaper, just like that. Pretty cool. So I am liking that too. And so, yeah, those are some of the exciting new features in KDE Plasma that I've discovered, and I really like them a lot. This is a great update. In fact, I'm running XFCE on my upstairs computer with Arco Linux, and this looks so nice that I'm thinking I just might kind of switch over to KDE again for a while. Because KDE was getting, just a little, I don't know, there was just something about it that was kind of putting me off, and I really can't put my finger on it, but I was just kind of getting bored with it, and so this kind of put the new life back into it again. And I think I pretty much covered all the important stuff. I'm sure I've missed something though, so feel free to chime in and let me know what that is that I missed, because it could have been something big. However, I think those are all like the main things. And so now KDE Plasma on Arch. So if you were kind of like me and a little bit bored with KDE Plasma and you just kind of drifted away from it and moved on to Cinnamon or XFCE or Budgie or some other desktop, you might want to come back and revisit and just kind of take a look at the new stuff and see what you think. The other thing I really like about Plasma too is that it's so easy to make it look like anything you want. You can make it look like a Mac, you can make it look like Windows. So in the beginning of this video I was talking about newcomers to Linux coming over from Windows or Mac. That's one thing you might want to consider is the desktop, KDE desktop. And when you get a little bit more savvy with Linux, a little bit of playing around, you'll find out that you can change themes pretty easily and theme it the way you like. KDE is probably one of the most themable desktops out there, one of the most flexible. You can really make it look any way you want. So that's one thing I really like about Plasma. And really that's the important thing when you're coming over to Linux for the first time, I guess. If you want to introduce somebody to Linux, probably the desktop is even a bigger factor than the actual distro, because the desktop is where you live. That's your environment. That's like your house. The Linux kernel is more like the foundation that your house sits on. So, when you're talking about what's the best thing to come over, if you're new to Linux, really the desktop is what you want to consider the most. And then the rest of it is kind of semantics, whether it's Fedora or Debian, Arch, whatever. They just have different package managers. Arch is more cutting edge as opposed to Debian is more stable, considered more stable. It's got older software and so forth. So yeah, other things to consider. I'm rambling, so silence, Jack. With that, I hope this review of Plasma 5.24 was helpful, and if it was, don't forget to hit that thumbs up and hit subscribe. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you next time.